Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe SI-Interviews und bei mir ist Andrew Lee Smith. Sie kennen ihn, ich habe schon viele Interviews mit ihm gemacht, meistens wenn ich drüben in Vancouver bin. Das spielt sie leider jetzt nicht mehr oder zumindest seit 2 Jahren. Ich habe gerade nachgeschaut, im Dezember 2020 mit ihm das letzte Interview gehabt. Sie kennen East Africa Metals. East Africa Metals hat es waren sehr effizient bei der Suche nach Projekten, nach Ressourcen, haben auch viele gefunden, haben auch einen Deal mit über 3 Projekte mit einer. You have 3 projects with the Chinese group or 2?
2 done, third one being negotiated.
Okay, and the third one is in Tansania. That's the 3 project what you have deals on
Yes.
it. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Also Sie haben 2 Projekte mit Chinesen in Äthiopien und eines in Tansania. Dann ist Covid passiert. Wir wissen, März 2020, seitdem ist dort ein bisschen ein Problem. Und das zweite Problem ist, Äthiopien hat Aufstände gehabt, genau in der Provinz, in der Region, wo sie ihre Projekte haben. Das heißt, sie haben dort einen Deal gehabt, die Chinesen hätten eigentlich oder bauen eigentlich alles auf und sie kriegen einen gewissen Anteil davon, bleiben beim Projekt beteiligt. Und eigentlich eine super Sache, aber die Umsetzung hapert dann durch diverse Sachen wie Aufstände, Covid, und da merkt man, wie schwierig das Business ist auch. Also das ist nicht so einfach, wie Sie denken oder wie Sie viele Leute denken, das Rohstoffbusiness ist. Rohstoffbusiness ist einer der schwierigsten Business schlechthin. Trotzdem ist es dann teilweise verwunderlich, wo der Rohstoffpreis teilweise notiert. Andrew, thank you for your time. This was a very long introduction in German, but I said that you have 3 projects, 2 with Chinese group in Ethiopia, 1 in Tanzania, not with a Chinese group, but with a Tanzanian group. But this was really difficult, and you set it up, and you was very efficient to find this project to create ounces in the ground, but then the execution. You coming up also with deals, and this was very efficient, but then come COVID in. That was one. And second is we have some problems in Ethiopia with some region, and especially in this region where your projects are located. So, but what is now really the actual status of this project? So what is from European standpoint? I must say, I think in 2-3 months, I think we are through this COVID stuff. I have no clue what you might think about from the Canadian view, but on the European view, I must say in 2-3 months, we have finished this, and then we treat it like a normal flu. So what's happened with on the projects now?
Well, thank you very much. I'm really pleased to have a chance to see you again and to talk to your viewers. East Africa's story in Africa is not fun or not finished yet. It's been a challenging time the last 2 years to keep the projects moving forward, because I think what you said appropriately is that we were gaining some momentum there, and if we could just talk briefly about that. We first went to Africa in 2009, and by 2017 we'd discovered 2.8 million ounces in 4 projects and had them permitted for mining. That's starting from scratch with nothing, no exploration, no drilling on the properties before we showed up, and in 6 years we've managed to accumulate significant resources and managed to get them permitted for mining. So that was a tremendous development. I think there was a fair amount of skepticism about our activities in Ethiopia. One of the benefits that we gained from going to Ethiopia is that there had been no exploration really done by Western companies in the country. And the risk that we were exchanging is we were exchanging geological risk for some sovereign risk. In that geological risk is typically the largest risk that exploration companies face. And if you can reduce that, it's to your benefit. And the sovereign risk, with our experience in Africa, we felt we were able to to deal with the sovereign risk. Our impressions on the ground, the infrastructure, human and other infrastructure that we put on the ground in Ethiopia gave us a lot of confidence that we were going to be able to deal with these issues. And I think we proved that up until 2017 by moving forward so quickly. And it comes out in a specific metric like our discovery cost per ounce. In Ethiopia, our discovery cost per ounce was $15 an ounce. In Tanzania, it was about 45. All told, for the 2.8 million ounces, it cost us about $25 Canadian per ounce of gold discovered. The global average is $147 US. And that's, I'd love to take a deep bow and say it's because we're brilliant explorers, and maybe there's a bit of that, but mostly it's taking the risk and the chance to go into these uncharted, unexplored areas where mineralization is prominent, sticking out of the ground. Doesn't require long periods of grassroots exploration. So that's where we saw our chance, and things were going very well until January 2020. January 26th, December 17th, 2019, we got our mining permits. That was a 2-year negotiation where we were, essentially our work was suspended. 2017, we completed everything. We reached the end of the 10-year term of the exploration licenses, even though we picked them up with 4 years already gone. In 6 years, we'd gotten to the point where the exploration licenses had to be converted into mining licenses, or they needed to expire. So in 2017, we had converted them all into mining license applications, and we didn't get our mining license given to us by the government formally until December 2019. During that 2-year interval, with the development partners in place, we were all making preparations to start the mining activity, even though we had not received the mining license yet. So when we got them in December of 2019, I guess, December 2019, we got the licenses. We were ready to go, and we were just getting into the position to start moving when on January 26th, the COVID of 2020, less than a month later, COVID hit. Travel restrictions were imposed in Ethiopia in late February. And then again, as you mentioned, the regional conflict in Tigray, where we worked, began in November of that same year. And what that did for us was put a challenge in front of us with respect to moving the project forward. So we created a lot of value between 2019 and 2017. 2017, we worked with the government to get our mining permits put in place. Our Chinese partners had acquired the equipment and had done the engineering during that 2-year interval, and were ready to start implementing it. Unfortunately, nothing has changed since then, but we do believe things are changing now, and that we're going to be able to recover the momentum that we developed from 2009 to 2019. So I think we've been successful in creating the value, installing that value in the company, moving it through the discovery process, even through mine permitting, into development-ready projects, but we've stalled based on
what is at the moment really the situation in Ethiopia? Is it now that its restrictions are gone and you can work there? That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, you say the Chinese partner have already have the flow sheets and all this stuff. Has he already also bought the equipment so that he can really start with them? Then what I heard also is that it's sometimes tough to get equipment to can really implement a mining operation. And then is the third thing is, can they bring it from China to Ethiopia? Then China is very restricted, especially a short period before the Olympic Games is starting, so they are really very restricted which people can go in or which people can go out. So how looks the situation in actually?
Well, I think progress and the re-engagement of the development process by our partners and ourselves is probably a couple of months away. But there have been significant movements and positive signs coming not only out of the press and out of government statements, but also from our staff who remain in Addis. We've kept our staff intact throughout this entire period. So we've been monitoring the situation, getting good intelligence. And the most significant thing happened, was preceded about a month ago by a ceasefire in the regional conflict. Yesterday, the Ethiopian government announced that they're lifting the state of emergency. And of course, the U.S. and Chinese diplomats were in Ethiopia 2 weeks ago to declare their support for the Ethiopian government and initiate negotiations to resolve the regional conflict. So while over the last 2 years, we haven't had anything really that showed any progress towards peace and reconciliation and the restoration of commercial activities, we have been seeing that over the last 6 weeks. And that's being backed up by our staff on the ground saying that things are moving. Now, in Tigray, where we are, there's still travel restrictions in the area. There is some damage to some infrastructure that is being repaired. And the negotiations, I believe, are set to start here in the next few days. So our hope is that this is going to lead to positive developments and that we can expect to see a return to commercial activity in Tigray region in the next couple of months. And that will trigger our Chinese partners to start moving equipment in. I have not actually inspected the equipment, but I have been informed by our partners that the equipment that they compiled and were ready to ship 2 years ago is still ready to ship. So everything's been suspended. The Olympics will come and go, but I think we'll get a green light from the Ministry of Mines. What we're really looking for is not the government in general, but specifically the Ministry of Mines says it's safe to go back to work, and they're anxious to do it. I'm planning to head over there and have some in-face discussions with everybody in the next couple of weeks. So the sense that I have personally is that we have an opportunity to start moving things forward. As you and your clients know, my job is to create the value in the company, but to have that value fully recognized in the marketplace. And that's where we've suffered. The value's been created. It's there. It hasn't changed. As a matter of fact, with the gold market, those values, I believe, will be improving over the next few months as we struggle to come out of COVID and get the economies realigned and a lot of these other issues dealt with. So we feel that we're in a good place now to complete the second half of our obligation to our shareholders, which is to get the value fully recognized in the marketplace as we re-engage the activity with the development of our 3 projects, complete the negotiation on our 4th project, and start to see the cash flow restart from Tanzania in the coming months as they make the transition from the tailings project into the hard rock mining.
Okay, before we start with Tanzania, one little question back to the project in Ethiopia. You get the permit, the mining permit 2 years ago. In this meantime, to COVID, is there any changing on it, or do you must do some work, or they have, or what's not that something coming up and say, hey, you do that 2 years something, and now you don't, or you don't get your mining license. You must give your mining license back.
There has been some confusion on our exploration licenses, and that some of those have we've been advised have been expired. However, both our mining licenses and our exploration licenses, there was a declaration of force majeure for the start of COVID, but a second force majeure declaration at the start of the regional conflict. Force majeures under the contract and the proclamation under Ethiopian law suspends all of our obligations under those contracts. So that's the state that it has been in. The Ethiopian government is quite anxious to see this kind of development work start. But they also are conflicted and realize that the situation in Tigray will not allow that to happen. So there's a lot of anxiety in the ministry about getting these projects going. But of course, us and the ministry are both restricted in what we can do in the region. So those restrictions, we believe, are changing now, and will be reopening for commercial activity on a timeline that I don't have much control over, but I'm just projecting the change in the news flow that's been coming out of Ethiopia, where there was not much good news and a lot of silence and a lot of intransigence between the two conflicting parties. Well, all that's changed in since December.
Okay.
The Chinese diplomats in December, U.S. diplomats in January, ceasefire declared, state of emergency removed. That seems to be pushing in one direction that we hope will eventually bring some peace and some commercial activity to Tigray.
Okay, that was Ethiopia, and this is a potential cash flow in 2 years, I must say, for my side. But coming now to a closer cash flow possibility, and this is Tanzania. So, so how Tanzania looks like, and when we can expect, or what are the next steps here, and when we can expect the cash flow out of this?
We have actually received cash flow already. A small amount from the initial tailings. There is the fourth quarter tailings reconciliation that is yet to be done that we will be getting. But during the fourth quarter, the tailings project was finished, and the project is now transitioning into hard rock mining. Engineering studies have been done. The resource has been recalculated. We've announced those in the public. Roads are being installed, and equipment and upgrades to the mill are being put in place right now. There'll be some development work to get the raw ore prepared, but that work is ongoing. And one of my plans are to be back in Africa, both in Addis and in Dar es Salaam, sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, when appropriate. And we will be doing a site inspection and seeing exactly and receiving the development plan, which will give us some idea as to the timing that's expected. But certainly in this year, I would expect in the second quarter, perhaps third quarter, that we'll see some significant progress on the hard rock mining side. So we're encouraged by the work that's been going. We're happy with the partnerships we developed there, and we're having a small issue with the Tanzanian tax authority that has to be addressed, and that will be one of the jobs that I have to do when I go there on my next visit, and to absolutely close the transaction and allow us to move forward with our business development plan.
Okay.
We have changed from a mining exploration company in Tanzania to a gold trading company.
Okay.
And that transition has been developed some complications, but they're being ironed out.
Okay. So this is not a all or nothing component. So it's you must work through.
Correct. Exactly.
When everything is running smoothly, when we can really expect a cash flow that's really can name as a cash flow?
Well, I would say whenever we start development, it's a 12-month, it's an 18-month development program that has been laid out in Ethiopia for the development of these two mines. My experience working with Chinese engineering companies is they usually do things faster than they expect.
Okay.
So, once development starts, which I hope will be within the second quarter here, it's an optimistic view based on what I'm hearing out of Ethiopia. Then we're looking at 12 months to cash flow from 2 operating mines. There's 2 of the 3 permitted mines that we have in Ethiopia will be developed in parallel, so they'll both come online at the same time.
And from the Tanzania, but when we can expect
Tanzania last half of this year, I expect we'd be getting cash flow from there. And then the fourth project for which we're negotiating right now, those negotiations went into suspension in 2020 as well. Prominent, we signed a letter. I don't think there's any mystery. We've announced it. We signed a letter of intent with Zijin Mining. Zijin, as I'm sure you know, and your viewers may recall, purchased the Nevson mine in Eritrea, just across the border from us. They spent, I think it was about 1.4 billion they paid for it. I might be wrong, but I'd encourage you to have a look. If you want to know more about Zijin and their interest in the region, I'd suggest that maybe you have a look at that transaction. As we're now talking to the same people, they're expressing the same kind of interest in our projects as they have in the Eritrean operations. So they're familiar with the region. They're operators in the region. They know the belt and the geology and the mining very well. Zijin Mining has announced that they have a 10 billion annual acquisition budget for the next 10 years. So they are ambitious. They're targeting Africa. Our projects sit right in the middle of, as a matter of fact, the historic terminus of the Silk Road between that link China and Africa is in the town of Aksum, which is the closest town to our project. So 2,000 years ago, the Chinese were very prominent in the region, and that has not been forgotten. And the restoration of the Silk Road on the Belt and Road Initiative is initially an attempt to restore those business relationships that existed 2,000 years ago. So the Chinese have a very significant interest in Ethiopia and East Africa. They built their first military base outside mainland China in Djibouti, about 200 kilometers from our project. So you see a tangible, a determined strategy from the Chinese about establishing businesses and positions in East Africa, and resources are at the top of the list with respect to their interest in terms of commodities. So the partnerships that we've developed with the Chinese companies have been beneficial to us and our shareholders. We believe they're going to be a good working partner for East Africa, as they're already quite engaged in the economy of a lot of these East African nations through infrastructure projects and other things. And I think that we're caught up in that intent. So it's a bigger initiative than just us. These Chinese transactions in Ethiopia, it's part of a bigger place. So we're confident that they'll continue to move forward as best they can, given the political situation. So, we're excited about that, and just to repeat myself again, we're hoping and believe in the next few months we're going to see the opportunity to have that value recognized in the marketplace as we get back on track and start moving down the development timeline.
Do you any exploration in some projects, or do you stop everything in the last 2-3 years?
We haven't done any exploration in Africa at all. Certainly in Ethiopia, we're unable to. In Tanzania, until we got the mining operation up and running, there was no real pressure to do it. There's 1 million ounces of gold sitting there, so. I think what will happen is once we get into production, the best approach that I've been experienced with in dealing with these is ore replacement. You do exploration to replace the ore that you're mining, so you'll adopt a sustained level of exploration that will, and you'll be monitoring the performance of that year on year to make sure that you are putting enough gold back in the resources to keep the mine going. But we're fully expect that there's a much longer mine life than is initially indicated at all of these operations, simply because these kinds of deposits do not really fit with a strategic approach to exploration that sees them get drilled out 100% before you put the utility together.
No, that makes
you have to establish a critical mass. And once that critical mass is established, you need to continue to replace it. So that's been our approach over the years, and I think it's what we'll be employing in Africa as soon as we get these projects up.
That's for sure. When you have a certain amount, it makes no sense to drill more. Then you get no value for these extra ounces.
Exactly.
That's the point. Andrew, thank you for your time. It was really a great update. Hopefully next time we can meet us in person. I have no clue when next time I come over to Vancouver, but I hope this year it will be there. I can become.
The Prospectors Developers Convention, which is the big Canadian event, has been pushed off to June. I don't know if you know that. So
really?
Originally it's in March, but it's going to be in June this year, yes. So hopefully by then, maybe we'll be able to...
okay, I make a reservation for my hotel room. So that was the reason why it was so cheap. That makes now much more sense.
Yes.
But then I think, and with all this stuff, I say it makes for me no sense to come over to in March. But June, it makes really sense. So June,
Yes.
and I think really that in February, March, it's over here in Europe, and I'm 100% sure April, May is over also in North America, and then it makes sense. And hopefully, I really can come over. So
Toronto and Vancouver are much more beautiful in the summer.
Yeah, absolutely,
And in the middle of February.
especially in March. PDSE, we know
very cold.
very cold. And for all people there that listen to this interview, it's can be really cold. So 45 degrees once, I remember me, or ice falling down from the CN Tower and so on, all this stuff. So in the summertime I prefer it. Yes. Andrew, thank you for your time, and hopefully next time we really will see us maybe in June on the PDSE.
Very good. Thank you, John.
Ja, thank you. So, das war jetzt ein Update von East Africa. War sehr viel Informationen, was ich schon gesagt habe. Eigentlich hat es in den letzten 2 Jahren nichts getan. Warum? Covid und auch das regionale Problem, den Konflikt, was sie regional gehabt haben in Äthiopien. Es ist wirklich, er hat es ja auch jetzt nochmal beschrieben, es ist wirklich extrem schlecht gelaufen vom Timing her. Im Dezember kriegen sie die Mining Permit 2019, der Partner hat sich alles schon vorbereitet, alle Equipment dementsprechend, alle Flowsheets waren da, Equipment ist scheinbar schon im Hafen gewesen, wäre nur mit zum Verschiffen gewesen, dann ist Covid gekommen und aus war. Schicht im Schacht, wie es so schön heißt. Wobei noch kein Schacht da ist, das ist das Problem. So, und dann war es eigentlich vorbei. Das heißt, es ist weder in Äthiopien was vorwärts gegangen, nur eigentlich in Tansania was vorwärts gegangen, wobei in Tansania, da kriegen sie einen kleinen Cashflow, aber dort war es die Tailings-Aufarbeitung und jetzt gehen sie in Hardrock. Und dort ist auch so, wenn alles normal läuft, er hat dort zwar nur ein Steuerproblem, das muss er lösen, weil dort die Firma umgewandelt worden ist, deswegen fliegt er auch in 2-3 Wochen, wenn es geht, runter, um das final zu lösen, und die wechseln dann zu Hardrock, und im Hardrock kriegen sie dann auch einen größeren Cashflow daraus, weil dann einfach mehr Unzen verarbeitet werden. Beim China ist es so, nachdem sie gestartet haben mit der Construction, wird ungefähr 12 Monate dauern. Er hofft, dass sie in 6 Monaten im Prinzip starten können, weil bis jetzt ist das Gebiet nach wie vor noch nicht freigegeben worden. Es ist zwar jetzt die Restriktionen aufgehoben worden, aber in einem Gebiet ist noch nicht, ist auch teilweise die Infrastruktur zerstört worden, Teile der Infrastruktur zerstört worden, und das müssen sie dementsprechend jetzt aufarbeiten, und er hofft, dass sie quasi in 6 Monaten starten können, und dann würden sie auch, wenn man das jetzt so über der Daumen mal Pi Ende 2023 dort mit einem Cashflow kommen. Sie haben auch, und das war auch ein interessantes Punkt, mit Shijin Mining einen Deal gemacht, einen 4. Deal, der hat eigentlich die Snefsun gekauft, und die haben eigentlich auf der anderen Seite von der Grenze eher ein Projekt, das passt eigentlich, glaube ich, ganz gut zusammen, ist bei mir total habe ich eigentlich übersehen, muss ich ehrlicherweise sagen, habe ich gar nicht registriert, war allerdings auch so, das haben sie announced vor ungefähr 6 Monaten, da hat das auch im Prinzip keinem Menschen interessiert. Man sieht auch so, der Aktienkurs hat im letzten Jahr nichts gemacht, eher im Gegenteil nach unten gegangen, wie viele andere Goldwerte auch. Und wir sitzen nach wie vor da unten, und wir haben eine Company mit 2,9 Millionen Unzen an Ressourcen. Also es ist eigentlich ein Wahnsinn, was die, das bringt mir jetzt nur zu einer Frage. Andrew, one last question. How much cash you have? Do you need a cash in the near future, or you think you can survive on this level?
We have, no, I think we're fine. The cash flow that we received from the tailings projects has upgraded. We have our discussions with Zijin are being based on a framework. There'd be cash payments for that as well. And believe we're about 1.5 million in cash, and something unusual that we did a couple of years ago when we were getting ready to continue our exploration is we prepaid $2 million Canadian worth of drilling.
Okay.
So we have the drills in Shire. We have a drilling company that's been contracted and paid for a $1.8 million Canadian drill program that we'll start as soon as we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you don't need money at the moment. No. No, perfect. Perfekt, ja, also Geld braucht es auch kein. Ja, das war jetzt ein Update von East Africa Metals, ich hoffe, dass ich ihn auch einmal wieder persönlich treffen kann. Wir haben auch dann nur kurz gescherzt über die PDSE, und vielleicht geht sich dann im Juni das auch aus. Ja, das war's. von East Africa. Heute haben wir den 27. Jänner 2022, Zeit läuft dahin, und ich hoffe, dass wir 2023, 2024, wenn wir dann da stehen, auch wirklich dann sagen, ja, wir haben 3 operative Minen, der Cashflow läuft mal 3 und wir verdienen so viel Geld dabei, dass es gar nicht mehr anders geht. Das wäre schön zu sehen, hoffentlich wird es auch eintreten. So, das war's von mir, von meiner Seite. Tschüss und Baba, viert euch. Thank you. Andrew, thank you for your time.
Pleasure, Joe. All the best.
You too, thank you.